It's day 3 in this amazing story. For 8 days, we're going to carry you through the most incredible story in the history of the world, the story that changed everything. Thanks for joining us today. So here we are in day 3. What's happened is Jesus has come into the city. He's submitted himself to the will of God, to the call on his life, the reason why he came in the first place. And he's already beginning to confront things. He's gone into the temple, as Tyler shared with you yesterday. He's gone into the temple and he's flipped the tables. He's kind of changed the direction and the focus. He's really asserting who he is. Now in day 3, he continues to do that. He's confronting the religious leaders. And people are starting to get frustrated. But Jesus is trying to help them understand that who he is not who they think he is. Oftentimes we become confused about who Jesus is. And what Jesus is saying is you're going to have to let go. You're going to have to lose control in order to find the life you're looking for. I'm excited because I have a friend, Andy, here with me today. Andy's on our staff. Andy, you're from England. What part of England are you from?
I grew up in an area called Surrey.
Surrey. You say it so beautifully, and I say it so terribly. But and you do graphics and design work. Much of the visuals that people see here at Bridgepoint come off of your desk, right?
Yeah, that's right.
And so Andy has an amazing story, and I'm going to let him share his story with you. And it involves a rock, and it also involves control.
Yep.
It involves letting go. Andy, tell people why this rock's important and about your journey towards understanding of what you need to do to let go.
Yeah, so I grew up in a Christian home, and I was encouraged to go to church as a kid, and I didn't really want to. For me, it felt a lot like school, and I never really liked school either. And so I would be asked to go, and eventually I fought against it so much that my parents gave in and said, okay, you don't need to. But that was my first step towards taking my own control of a faith journey. And it was basically to just run the opposite direction from it. I felt like that was their thing, not mine. And I was going to be in control of my life. I had a fairly normal upbringing. And so I wanted to recreate my life like that. I wanted to have a steady job and get married and have a house and have some kids and, just keep checking off the boxes of what I thought was normal. And so I started to do that, and I got a good career. And it all was just me in the driving seat, me in control. And when the job didn't really end up fulfilling me in the way that I thought that it would, I took off traveling and I went around the world a little bit. And I have some good stories out of that, and I also have some stories that are probably a little bit of regret too.
Yeah. So in all of this travel, what you were really doing was trying to kind of find you,
right?
To kind of write your own story. And that's what a lot of the religious leaders were doing. That's what a lot of the people were doing of the time. They were trying to write their own story. And Jesus said, I want to write your story. So at what point did everything start changing for you?
So I had built what I thought was a fairly successful life, and I was checking off all of these things. And then one day I found myself staring down a divorce, and the things that I had put my faith in, the things that I had built around what I considered this normal life, were all crashing down and crumbling down. And I realized the one key element that my parents had in this normal life that I thought was that they had this faith and I didn't. And so as my life came crashing and crumbling down, I realized, well, if I'm going to rebuild this, then I'm going to rebuild this with Jesus at the very center of it.
Yeah, and this rock was kind of a symbol of that. Tell us how this rock came into play. And this is the actual rock. Yeah.
Very early on, while I was still being forced to go to church at a young age, I was probably 12 or 13 or something like that. We were away on a church camp, and the youth pastor at the camp had encouraged all of us to go outside and find a rock. and that rock symbolized our life as he described it. And I don't remember much of the message. I just remember that rock was me. And towards the end of the camp, we were encouraged to come and leave that rock on the table if we were ready to give our life to Christ. Well, end of the camp, I was firmly in control of my life, and I wasn't ready to let God have that. So I just kept the rock, and I took it home, and I kept it through all of my travels. And when I emigrated to America, I packed the rock up and I moved it over here with me.
And then something happened. You don't have this rock anymore. I do.
Yes.
Tell us that story.
So when I moved here, when things kind of crashed down, and I realized that I needed Jesus to be running my life for me, because he was going to do such a better job of it than I was going to. I found Bridgepoint, and I remember I came to talk to you about getting baptized. And we decided to wait till my parents could come over from England. And when they did, you baptized me, and that rock was right in my pocket while we were there. And as we climbed out of the tank and I walked backstage to get changed, I just kept walking right into your office, and I just left that rock right there on the table, because I didn't need the rock anymore. I was no longer in control. I had given it all to God. He was going to be in control.
Yeah, and you came to me later. I found the rock, and I'm like, what is this rock on my desk? But I didn't throw it away because I was curious as to how it had gotten there. You came and explained to me later, and I've kept this rock. I've hung on to it as a symbol of your story, because it's such a powerful story. And it's a story that I think many people can identify with. If you were going to tell people, when you think about letting go, because we're all carrying our own stones, our own rocks. We're all trying to control our own lives, and Jesus came to kind of confront that. That's what he was doing on this day, was confronting the control that people thought they needed. If you were going to tell people life in your story after the stone, give us a brief picture of how much different it is with you not in control, without this rock in your pocket.
Yeah. So my first thing is I would encourage everyone to think about what is your rock. We all have the things in life that we don't want to let go of. But for me, in giving up my rock, in giving up my life, so much of the things that I had tried to do on my own that I couldn't manage to make happen, I couldn't get there, God has redeemed all of that. And here I sit in the midst of a wonderful life, with all of the things that I would have wanted, but I didn't put any of that together.
Wow.
God placed those pieces one after the other, and sometimes I just have to sit down and hold on, because sometimes he runs a little too fast too.
I understand. Well, Andy, your story is a great redemption story. And that's what Jesus came to write. He came to write a redemption story in each and every one of your lives. We're all carrying rocks, stones, weight. And Jesus came and said, I want to go against what you think this is all about, because you think you have to be in control. What you need to know is, I want to be in control. He says, whoever will lose his life will find it. You found life, Andy. You found an amazing, abundant life that Jesus promised for you. It is our hope, it is our desire that you find the life that Jesus came to give you. This picture, this story that you're living in this week is a redemption story, a story that he wrote for you. Jesus gave his life so you could find yours in him. Thanks for joining us. Stay with the story, because it gets real exciting as we move forward.